thank you so much for joining me, Sister Modupe. Sister Modupe's Raw Vegan Soul Food Show. And you know what we do here? We make sure to feed your everything from the tip of your head to the bottom of your feet, right? So we talk about nourishment for the mind, the body, the soul, the intellect, the emotions, because you're all that, right? And a slice of toast, like they like to say. Okay, but today, you know what? You know I'm excited, and you're going to wonder about the tie-in for the music, right? Well, you know, in traditional cultures, you know, one of the roles that drums played was when the community needed to come together, right, and take care of some business, whether it was ceremony or a challenge or whatever. So my guest today, whew, this brother has done much in a short life. I'm so proud of him. Let me look at you. I'm so proud of him, because he has put the community, people first. And that means what? He includes himself, because when you make sure you take care of the community, the people, you're taking care of yourself too. So I'm so excited that he's here. He's done so much. So let's talk a little bit about how he's serving the community. And he's going to talk more about how he's gotten to where he's at and where he plans to keep moving. Okay? All right. So his name is Bruce Wheatley. Inner City Industries is his nonprofit, his public benefit organization. Doesn't that sound wonderful? We have so much selfishness going on out here, and we have somebody that's dedicating their lives to not only the public benefit, but focusing on children and students and kids in school, young people, okay? And that's so important, because what? Hey, young people, they are our future, right? Okay, so he's the founder and chief architect. He's invested over 30,000 hours. See, that's called doing your homework. 30,000 hours researching the best practices in health. Now, that's, you know, that's up our alley, right? Mental health, education, and community empowerment. And you know, that's what this show is about, empowering, not just talking about the challenges, the issues, but talking about solutions, talking about how to make it better, right? Okay, so after witnessing students with behavioral issues in schools being inappropriately diagnosed with mental illnesses, he said, okay, I got to do something, because I know there's solutions out there. There are ways better to handle this, right? So Mr. Wheatley's up-close understanding of organizational and operational structures, and he's going to explain what some of that means, in addition to the business culture of Los Angeles county's mental health, education, and health systems, earned his mention in Dr. Francis M. Duffy's 2011 The Revolutionaries, a directory of informed critics, creative innovators, woo-hoo, we're about innovation, right? And system architects and builders. We need all that, right? To build a society, to keep a community strong, right? We need all of that. Who are advocates for the transformation of educational systems and their component school systems. Now, we're going to have him talk about all of that. I just want to tell you a little bit more. Yeah, let's hear it. A little bit more. Can one person do more? Yes, they can. He's currently a Master of Communication Management candidate at USC's School of Journalism and Communication. He's been a professional athlete. He's a student now. He's organized an organization that's about the community. That's fabulous. So let me introduce Mr. Wheatley now. He's going to tell us more about his journey. He's going to tell us about his future plans. And I'm like saying, right on, keep it going, keep it moving, keep doing all that good stuff. So let's hear it from Mr. Bruce Wheatley.
Thank you. I appreciate the love. I'm happy to be here and to share a little bit about my journey and our experience in developing this community-based organization for the community. And so you tell me where you'd like to start.
Oh, let's start. You know, everybody want to know, are you from L.A.?
I am from LA.
Woo-hoo.
I'm
So
bred
you know,
and butted.
so, okay, now
Yes,
you know everybody
indeed.
want to know where you went to school, right?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I started in Los Angeles, born in Harbor,
Okay.
UCLA, Carson, Compton, Gardena.
Woo-hoo.
And then at a young age, my family moved us out to the suburb, which back then was West Covina.
Woo-hoo.
That was the edge of town where everybody went for a little bit of opportunity.
Okay.
So we were a very diverse community with Asian Pacific Islanders, Korean, Guatemalans,
Okay.
Middle Eastern, and I keep this picture that has the sixth grade picture of our class, and you can see all of those people there, and I think that's
Wow.
why I have such the passion for humanity that I do, because I grew up with a very diverse group of people.
That's fantastic, and that's what we need. You know, this guy, this brother, I just met him a couple of days ago. I was at the KJLH Women's Health Expo they do down at the Convention Center.
Yes.
And he walked up to me and gave me this postcard and said, we got a meeting, and he was so passionate and real and serving the community. I was like, you want to be on the show? Come on the show and talk to people and let them know what you're doing and you know, share some of that passion and love about service. Remember, if you serve the community, you serve yourself. So continue, please.
Yeah, well, my journey began about 17, 18 years ago when I was working in entertainment and came across a lot of young people who were aspiring to be in the business.
Okay.
And so a few years down the road, I was doing some soul searching, and I thought, you know, what should I do with myself? And, you know, the Lord spoke to me and said, take your experiences and go do good. I decided to go introduce career opportunities behind the scenes to young people, and through that experience of networking with school administrators working for a mental health agency, I realized that kids were being inappropriately diagnosed with mental disabilities who had behavioral issues. And I thought, you know, I can't be a part of that when I get and meet with my guys, my friends who I've played ball with across the globe in some summers and talk about what we're doing. I can't say I'm pimping kids for Medi-Cal billing.
Oh my goodness, no way.
Unfortunately, the way the system is set up, that's kind of the typical process because it's a medical model type system, which brings me to, you know, the work that we have to do in order to change this crisis that is really impeding our community's success.
Right. So you saw the need for a lot of new thinking, right?
Yes.
Because remember, you can't keep doing the same thing the same way and expect better results. That's insane. Did we show the shot of the publication that he's mentioned in? I'd like to show that because page 1, there it is, the revolutionaries I mentioned in the introduction that he's mentioned in here. Can we look at page 2? I love what they say about essentially new thinking, because we've got to think new things in a new way if we want new results, different results, better results, right? Because isn't it about better results? Listen, look at the dedication of this publication. I love it. To the children yet to enter our education systems, it is my prayer that the people and organizations identified in the directory, and this includes Mr. Wheatley, will succeed in their quest to transform education systems to provide you with a personalized, customized, student-centered learning experience. We know that's not a lot of what's going on right now. From the time you enter school for the first time until the day you leave school. And then this next paragraph really gets it. To the defenders of the status quo. The status quo is not working. We need something new. Our children, our future deserve it, and we deserve it. To the skeptics whose mental models blind them to the need for transforming education systems. The same old thing is not working. And their component school systems, to those who do not see how our industrial age education systems and school systems are destroying the joy of learning. You got to have a passion for what you're going to take on and use, you know? So I just love that. So look it up. It's called The Revolutionaries. You can replay this to get the full title again. It's a PDF, online, free, easy to find online. take a look and read through that and look at some of the people who are movers and shakers in the educational system. And I'm so excited we've got one here.
Yes, indeed.
Continue,
yes,
please.
indeed. Well, you know, as a result of 16 years of blood, sweat, tears, beg, borrowing, and almost stealing, truth be told,
Do the thing.
you know, I've come to realize a lot. And my conversation is not like most because my thinking comes from systems, thinking about systems, whole systems. Whereas I see a lot of community organizations focusing on programs, and I applaud that and support that work. It is essential that that work continues to go forth. However, I believe we have to pivot and start thinking about the systems. And so what I'm doing tonight is hosting a town hall under the urgency of now as a result of our Board of Supervisors here in LA County approving the integration of the Departments of Mental Health, Public Health, and Health Services, which fundamentally is around systems change. However, because for at least Black Americans, African Americans, we are very distrusting and we've given up on our systems a long time ago. So while the systems are evolving, we're absent from the conversation. And so this, given that the law speaks to eliminating health disparities, and African Americans are the greatest in despair, and the Board of Supervisors recently approved cultural and linguistic competency and transition age youth as board priorities, it just makes sense for us to get involved in the restructuring of our system to eliminate that historical bias, racism, and discrimination, that status quo that has continually oppressed our vulnerable communities.
Okay. So again, announce your program that's coming up this evening.
Okay, yes. So tonight we're having a town hall rally, more or less, on the corner of Florence and Regent, which is all a part of the Faithful Central Campus, right there on that corner, 400 West Florence, and that's 90301 where we'll convene. Again, as I say, under the urgency of now. One of the things that I'm going to highlight as we talk about the transformation of education is really moving K through 12 to the information age.
Wow.
It's still functioning in the industrial age.
Yeah, that's
and
not
so,
gonna work.
Yeah, no, that's not going to work with the way our society is shaped up.
Right.
And this is fundamentally is why I see a lot of young people having dropped out of school, because their capabilities with information technology is handy, but the education system is not meeting that need, and so they're becoming bored, to be quite frank. And so in meeting that need and building the capacity of a school system, we see the opportunity based on what the supervisors are doing with integration of the health departments is building out a behavioral health care component within K through 12, which would coexist with the current management and instruction framework. Because without a doubt, if we're not meeting the social, emotional, health and wellness needs of this next generation, when we know the social determinants of health and trauma and poverty is really threatening our kids' ability to excel and remain focused academically. And so we have to really wrap our arms around the whole system and the whole child, as opposed to these piecemeal processes that we keep trying to, in essence, put a Band-Aid over a dam that's wide open.
Right.
It's ineffective. And so we're calling folks out tonight to share this information, to share this opportunity, because again, if a child is not healthy, they won't be motivationally ready to excel academically.
Right.
And so what we look at is the fact that trauma is one of those things that is impeding our community's success. And trauma is the result of watching violence happen in our community, growing up without a single parent and having to and succumb to different types of ailments of the community, gang violence, joining a gang, to witnessing the loss of a loved one.
Right.
And trauma is really rampant post our economic downturn in 2008, and so we've yet to recover, and we're still functioning in an outdated system. So it's paramount that we start to make these changes. And so I'm going to be pointing out to one of our key solutions in that the board acknowledged transition age youth as a priority. And so what we're doing for the transition age youth population is fundamentally we engage the 18 to 24-year-olds. We train them to become peer mentors or peer specialists for our elementary and middle school students.
That's excellent, because it's people who have similar experiences,
Yes.
who have coped with and gotten beyond them,
Exactly.
that can encourage and give them encouragement and solutions and love. you know?
Yeah. We consider it as a positive trend for youth to follow, because now they have a mentor
Right.
and a young adult who's in school with a job.
Right.
And it's unfortunate that our community doesn't see enough of that image, but we're also in the process of building social connections with these young people. We are in a day and age where if you're not talking about jobs to these young folk, or pretty much anybody, you're not talking about nothing.
True.
Everybody is busy trying to make ends meet. I just talked about how the recession really affected our community.
Right.
And so those who were that middle income, a lot lapsed into the poor, working poor category, and those who were the poor and working poor have found themselves in some really dire situations.
Destitute many people.
It's a classic
Right.
example why homelessness has gone up 12% in LA County.
Right, and as you were speaking, I thought about things like as the mental health of care providers, I'm talking about parents or whatever,
Yes.
falls to the wayside and the stress
Yes.
increases.
Yes.
You have things like young people not having appropriate parental guidance.
Yes.
You have things like hunger. Hunger is becoming
Yes.
a really big problem. Yeah, it looks like
Yes.
there's food all over in the city, in the country, whatever. But hunger is just like going off the chain. All kinds of groups of people needing assistance for food that have never experienced that before.
Right.
Have never experienced homelessness before.
Well, here's where the rubber meets the road, in my opinion, because you hit the hammer on the nail when you said mental health. And in the black community, African American community, mental health stigma is the biggest barrier.
It's a very big stigma.
Mental health stigma to us is what kryptonite is to Superman. It's made us incredibly weak because of what we don't understand. And when you're talking about trauma and its association with mental health, it means we're deterring ourselves from the very thing that can help us overcome.
Right.
And so when we talk about systems change, we look at rebranding how services are delivered. So given that the Affordable Care Act calls for mental health and addiction parity, and the LA County Board of Supervisors have approved the integration of the county's department to be in alignment with the law.
Okay.
We see this as an opportunity to rebrand how services are introduced and actually how they're delivered by creating wellness teams, because most folks are stressed right now, as I said, and so when they go to see a physician, they typically talk about elements that surround depression and being stressed. And so this is why, again, integrating those services to where mental health is almost invisible,
Okay.
I believe will help pave the way for a healthier community, particularly given that, we have this program which is designed as a change mechanism where now you have the community involved in the delivery of services as we build out a new system, preparing young people to become workforce ready in this new system. And so there's a lot of construction, re-engineering that has to take place, and we're not going to be able to talk about all that tonight. What we're framing is the opportunity and a big picture approach, and then we're going to follow up with those who find interest to start hosting some series of work groups, workshops where folks can get a better understanding of the policies, what community-defined practices are, the promise of cultural and linguistic competence, and all of those elements that really will help us see a more clearer picture or approach to addressing this very issue of the day, being trauma and poverty.
True. Yeah, you mentioned some things like rebranding and re-engineering.
Yes.
And that's what I say. We can't keep doing things the same way because we already see that it doesn't work. And we have some serious things that we need to turn around in our communities.
Yes,
right?
indeed.
The dropout rate.
Yes.
Right? We've got brilliant young people.
Yes.
But they're discouraged.
Right.
They're dealing with a lot of issues that, and unfortunately, personnel sometimes that aren't encouraging them, right? Because they're not helping them to reach, to elevate, to expand themselves.
Right.
They have lost faith in themselves, and others have lost faith in them too, and that doesn't help. So this mentoring program sounds fascinating. That sounds perfect. That sounds really, really good. And so let's see how people are branding. You know, people say, oh, well, are you talking about branding with the schools and the kids and the issues and stuff? Beyonce? Okay, I'm gonna mention Beyonce because what? Everybody's talking about she's a master at branding herself, right? And this thing with role models that are close to home instead of looking at the people who are not in your community, like athletes or artists who don't come from your community, and you know, we got people who can serve as role models right next door. Right?
Well, you know, when we think about shifting K through 12 education into the information age, it's really embracing the interests of young people. There's definitely the core curriculum that they must have, but we see opening up the system to where it's almost like community college, where kids have the flexibility to attend courses throughout the day. Preferably, you'd want those young people in there during those prime times, but you know, we have a huge population of young people who've dropped out who we need to get back in. And some of them are pursuing employment opportunity, and so how do we make school flexible for them to want to go back and engage, for one, but also looking at subject areas of interest for these young people. And this is where technology, I believe, really can help pave the way to increase the capacity, the thinking capacity of our young people, working in small groups on subject areas of interest. So if you want to go into business, for instance, now we have an opportunity to employ potentially some of our baby boomers who's retiring, who have subject area expertise.
I always think about that as an excellent pool of resources.
Exactly, who could come back and be mentors to some of these kids who are interested in these particular areas. This is all about giving back to our community, and we want to do it. We just have to understand that there's a pathway. And so people are so confused by all the dynamics. You have mental health issues, you have health issues, you have substance abuse issues, you have issues with K through 12, you have issues in the community where there's a low education attainment level. And so oftentimes you have some of our respected scholars come in and they speak up here to a community that's listening down here. And so I talk the talk that I walk. And in 2010 we'd gotten some data as I've been working with the Department of Mental Health around South Los Angeles and African Americans, which really identified us as a vulnerable community and vulnerable population. And so as a result, I thought, well, this was done before 2008 when the recession happened. So in 2010, what is it like now? So I began riding the metro, public transportation, every day since then, which is going on about 5 years now. Talking to drivers about the plight of our community, and every single one has said things have gotten worse. And so people don't realize once you cross the 10 freeway that it becomes almost a different world when you start heading down south of Crenshaw, western Vermont, in terms of where poverty has become concentrated. And so we have to take a step back and look at all of these competing dynamics as opposed to trying to punch each one out one at a time. We got to literally take a step back and look at how we can address this holistically
in an integrated
and by population, because every ethnic population responds to mental health stigma differently.
That's true.
For instance, as African Americans, we don't have any confidence in our system of care for all righteous reasons. Where others, it's a thing about machismo, and they say, so suck it up amongst my, Latino brethren, and then we have our things, and APIs have their issue. And so if we're going to be successful at addressing this issue, I see it as taking a population approach, where you engage the different underrepresented ethnic populations in the transformation of this health and education system. And what was being acknowledged in the Revolutionaries report was our continuum of healthcare and education systems framework that's built on best practice research from some of our best scholars. They have the great work. It's been proven across the country. But here in LA, because we're a very competitive group of people, no one stopped to, as I've heard so many people say, put it all together.
Okay.
So now we've put it all together, and we're going to start to introduce this as the opportunity really of our lifetime. This is a Kairos moment for us to operationalize President Obama's Affordable Care Act by increasing access to services through school-based health centers, bringing family physicians from the city, the industrial areas where they have the medical centers, into the community where literally a family can walk down the street and to an elementary or middle school and have a family physician where they can see that person on a yearly basis to track and monitor their health outcomes, and more than anything, have an advocate in times of crisis. Because right now you go into a hospital, they see, unfortunately, how much they can bill.
Yes.
And it's not about the care as much. They doing their best. They do care. Please don't misinterpret. But it's a business model.
It is. It is. They're matter of fact, they get in trouble or whatever. They spend too much time with a patient. They take care of someone who doesn't have the proper insurance. I mean, it's sad, but that's truly how it operates. Yeah.
So, in just listening to the community, because I believe if you're going to champion for the community, you got to be amongst the community.
There you go.
And I'm not celebrating the fact that I live in poverty myself. I know what it feels like to go to the emergency room and wait 14 hours for them to tell you to take an aspirin and then go but wait 4 more hours to get the prescription. I know what it feels like to go to DPSS and sit for 4 hours or so to get your re-up for your EBT card. I know what it feels like to live on $194 a month, and I didn't have to do it for 9 years to know, for 45 years to know that 9 years is enough.
Right, right.
Enough is enough.
Right.
And we can turn this thing around. The resources are there as a result of some of the propositions that our state has endorsed. Our people.
Right.
We're generating about $3 billion a year in new revenue.
Repeat that and tell them who you're talking about. Make sure they understand who you're talking about.
It's our community. We have voted for these propositions, and we thought the work was done. Then we passed those monies to the status quo leadership, and they don't get the job done. Right. The Mental Health Service Act has generated $13 billion in 11 years, and we're still talking about services. Yeah. So, that's just a classic example of what's not getting done, but this money won't last forever. Right. And I say that because a lot of this money is coming from a millionaire's tax, where those are being taxed 1% of their income after $2 million, for instance, with the Mental Health Service Act.
Wow.
And so we have a technology boom where we were generating and making a lot of millionaires, so the money is plentiful.
Right.
We don't know when that's going to stop. So if we don't start to get this system coordinated and in alignment to better meet the needs of our most vulnerable, then what are we doing?
Right. Wow. Well, as I looked through your document you sent me, there was a list of things, kind of your strategies and things like that. One was your mandate, your approach, your method, what you envision, and, your evaluation, how you want to evaluate. So you can see this brother is not playing. You're going to take a scientific approach to this, look at all the pieces and see how to integrate it and put it together so that we have a working machine. We don't want the car and just have the car doors and the tires, or the engine and no body and no transmission. We have to put all of that together so that this will work to our benefit, because the funds are there, but if people and systems, like you say, aren't put in place that help to make sure to deliver these things in some kind of integrated manner, we'll just keep talking and there'll be no service. So on paper, we're being serviced, right?
Right.
On paper, there's the money. On paper, there's the offices. On paper, there's PhD people in position.
Right.
But this brother, who is a master's candidate,
Exactly.
is living the life, communicating with the people, looking at all the parts and pieces, and understanding that we've got to have new approaches, new ideas, and new energy to get this thing to work for us.
And I believe we are at the time where all we all literally need to do is understand and stand.
Understand.
There's one thing, everybody wants to win, but everybody doesn't have the will to prepare to win. And so as a former professional athlete, you know, I bring that experience to my effort here. And it kind of boggles people because they keep saying, this guy is still going. That's because I'm a champion.
There you go.
And champions don't quit. We always find another way to win. And
Confidence. You have to have
You have to
confidence.
have that.
Yes.
And so, you know, when I look at the challenges that are confronting us, we are our own challenge.
There you go.
We are competing against one another. We are working in silos as much as our system. And so unless we begin to remove our own barriers of distrust, I have little faith that things can change, but I have great faith that things will evolve because the logic of this process just makes sense. What we call it is a no-brainer. It's like you don't even have to think twice about providing jobs to the highest group of unemployed, to deliver support services to their younger peers, to develop social connections when that's not happening. That's a no-brainer. When you talk about the health agency asking for the ingenuity of our community under cultural and linguistic competence, it's a no-brainer.
There you go. But we got to get people to start using that brain, right?
Yes, indeed.
And the heart.
Yes.
And the heart.
Yes.
Now, we're about out of time.
Okay.
I thank you so much for coming and spreading the word and this meeting. Announce your meeting one more time.
Okay, it's tonight. We're going to start speaking at 6:30 at 400 West Florence Ave in Inglewood, 90301. I would love to have your support to come and listen to a new opportunity. Because this is the opportunity of a lifetime, and I just want to make certain that we benefit from it.
Okay, and so you announced again the
yes,
location, time, and tonight.
Tonight, Tuesday, April 26th, from 6:30 to just about sundown, 9 o'clock. We will be there sharing really what the Lord has put on my heart and that I believe will help make impact in our communities.
Well, thank you for answering.
Thank you
so much. We want to thank our sponsors, All-in-One Press Kit. Go to that website. Go to my website if you want to see a great site that gateway to all the social media. I love the site, rawvegansoulfood.com. You'll see I talk about different supplements. It's a gateway to all my social platforms. Everything's there. Thank you again, All-in-One Press Kit. This is Sister Modupe with Mr. Bruce Wheatley. Thanking you. Tune in again. We love you. Sister Modupe's Raw Vegan Soul Food Show, where we're talking about optimizing your nutrition for every aspect of your life. Head to toe, heart, soul, mind, intellect, emotion, all of it. Thank you. Peace and love.
Thank you.